Hello, welcome to Deep Feed, episode 16. This one's named Intense Rivalry, mainly because the artist in question today is Rival Consoles, one of my favourites, a little special place in my heart actually, due to just his sound in particular. I just like, I don't know, to be fair, I make music, electronical music, very different vibe, a bit more moodier probably in general, a bit more bass, sort of drum and bass music sort of driven sounds. But there was a time when I just first discovered this artist, Rival Consoles, otherwise known as in real life as Ryan Lee West, from Britain, like London based guy. When I first discovered him, I thought I was really inspired. I mean, I wanted to sort of try and warp my sound into a more sort of cinematic, but like chilled, like his vibe was, rather than the sort of bass music sound that I got. But so I started making a bit more chilled out stuff, at least attempting to. Anyway, I won't blather for ages. This is going to be quite a swifty, just introduce tracks. I don't have loads and loads to say about them all. I'd just like to give you a little tour through his tunes. I'll just say right now, I'm not going to be playing anything before his first, the first album I heard of his, which was called Howl. The reason was he did do stuff before that, very IDM-like, probably quite similar to what I do in some ways, but I never really scanned through it yet. I did check a couple of them, I wasn't really into it. He had a massive change in his general overall sound. You might check out his older stuff, you might love it. Anyway, to start off, we have this track, Untravel, which is from Persona, which is an album from 2018 actually, so it's quite recent. This, as I always like to point out on my podcast, has the most awesome video to it. Really, it's an incredible video. I highly suggest you get out there now and watch it. It's especially if you're into sort of trippy stuff. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Go and check it out. This is Untravel. This is of course Rival Consoles, and I've chatted through half the tune now, so I'll just shut up. You can hear the rest. Here we go. super chill. Do love that one. Definite super ambience vibes there. So moving swiftly on, we're going to move to the track Howl off the album Howl. This one was about in 2015. It's all on Ray's tapes. I actually did a podcast with them before. But this was the first, I believe this might have been the first track of his I ever heard. The one coming in, not quite now, coming in a sec. Yeah, it's intense. It has just, he's basically, you know, when you have it, well, you don't know, maybe you do, maybe you don't. You have a bit when you have a synth and it's going, and then you can tweak a button and it goes, or just like modulates and changes in sound. This has one of my favorite uses of that I can think of almost ever recently. If you hear it, it's sort of, and it just goes off on one. I don't know what he did with the tweakage, but it struck a chord in me. And one reason I totally love him. Check this out now. Howl. Here we go. And it's definitely like a cosmic electronic howl. Here we go. Yes. That has got some sounds going on. That was Howl. This whole hour is dedicated to rival consoles. By the way, I'm not entirely always going to do an hour, so I don't know why I said this hour in specific. But yeah, so up next is a track, Hands. This is another ambient affair from his new album, which is called Overflow. Comes out in 2021, so it's very recent. He's often credited with using analog synths, which is one of my favorite things to mess around with when I'm trying to produce music. He also likes to use pedals and degraded processes, which, in case you're interested, degraded processes is where you sort of melt in inverted commas sound down by using like analog gear, like external things. Perfect example of it. I don't know if what his processes or techniques are, but I heard a classic example of this was Boards of Canada, who used to take sounds they'd made in a synth and record them onto an old VHS video player, and then run it through an old telly, like old school analog TV speakers, through the VHS video, and then record it back with a microphone. That would be classed as a degrading process. And if you have time to do this in your music, and you do it correctly, it can take it from nice to next level. So that's my advice. Anyway, here we have some chilled background vibes. This will be Hands. Coming in now, ultra chill. Yes, that was nice. Floaty, definitely floaty. Those lush synthetic pads there. Let's let that finish. So the next track is from his latest thing again, Overflow, and it's called I Like. And at first I just thought it was just a fun, he'd taken a little loop I like and just messed with it. But my friend points out later, and could be correct, could not, I don't know, only Rival Consoles and people around him might know, that it could be a sort of like a little bit of sarcastic poke at people who say like a lot. Anyway, here it is.
I like. And they were like,
you'll understand it's cool. It's very weird, but cool. Here we go.
I mean, it's like when I like, it's like when, and they were like, I like, it's like, I mean, it's like when I like it. And they were like, when it's like I mean, it's like when I like, it's like, and they were like, it's it's like I mean, it's like it's like when I like, it's like when I like, and they were like, I mean, it's like it's like, and they will, it's like I like, and they were like,
yes. I like. Lots of stuttering and edits and stuff there. So up next we have a track from Persona album, which was another awesome album. I think it's one of the albums that I like the most tracks off. But this one I just rediscovered actually sort of almost discovered when I was looking through for the podcast to find tracks to play. It's coming in now. It's called Memory Arc. I didn't really know it particularly, but it's beautiful. Here the melodic progressions, harmony stuff. Yeah, lovely. Here we go. Memory Arc. Yes, short track there. Short, but super nice. That would have been Memory Arc. So from an ambient affair, floaty, definitely floaty, to something a bit more upbeat, dancey orientated, I suggest. He does definitely do some gigs. I've seen him I've never seen him live. I've seen him on YouTube doing gigs where he's brought his modular gear along. Always find that incredibly impressive. It's hard enough to control modular gear at home when you can make a mistake and no one, not 1,000 people don't go, oh no, what's going on? Or they all run for the exits. It's hard enough to control the gear just anyway, let alone in a live music situation. So a lot of very impressed there by his ability to do that, and I don't think loads of artists can. But yeah, I think just doing live music in general is not simple. Live electronic music, live music playing instruments isn't simple. But as an electronic music producer, I will say doing live electronic music is tricky. It's not as easy as just pressing some buttons. I suppose it depends how you programmed your rig. But I've done a couple of live sets myself, just to small crowds, which was fun. I remember seeing people sitting in various states of it wasn't really dance music vibes. But people, I did manage to hypnotise a couple of people on armchairs, I have to say. Very much fun had. Oh, if you're interested, checking out my tunes and other various stuff that I do, go to deepnbeeper.co.uk. That's deep and then N and then beeper, all one word. I've got some tunes going on. You can check if you like. Anyway, here it is, Pulses of Information from his latest album, Overflow. I'll just let that play now. Well, I'll shut up now, is what I'm saying. Here we go. Nice vibes there. Rival consoles vibing with the electronica. Moving swiftly on, we have the track coming in now from Persona album again, called I Think So. You'll hear a lot of this because I'm not going to talk much right after it starts, but it's a creeper. I implore you to remain for the creep, which happens later on in the near the end of the track. Here we go. I Think So. Here we go. Yes, that was, I think so. Vibesing. Electronical Vibesing from the master. Rival Consorts. Anyway, next up we have a track called Ghosting from the old Howl album again. One that I did just rediscover for this podcast. So I'm looking forward to hearing it now. I'm going to listen with you now. Check this shit out. Yeah, I loved that. That was nice to rediscover that, actually. Enjoyable. Very good track. Good example of his sort of vibe. Definitively sort of cinematic, electronic, if you see what I mean. Yeah, he has been accused of sounding very cinematic, and I appreciate the vibe. Like, you know, it's not sort of traditional structure. It's not even traditional sort of timbre and overall feel of the music, if you know what I mean. Okay, so back to his new album. This is Overflow, coming in now from the album Overflow. Yeah, check that if you like. It's recent. This is his latest one out, 2021. I wonder what he's going to do next. Exciting stuff. Great intro. Here we go. Overflow by Rival Consoles from the Overflow album. So next up is the one track I've brought on this podcast where he's with someone else, co-produced with Peter Broderick. This one's on Erased Tapes Collection 5. That'll be a V, not a 5, the number. Erased Tapes, great label. In fact, they've had him on since day one, and they've obviously held his hand. I don't mean in a sort of what's the word way, like he needed help, but like, you know, he's all released all his stuff on them. So this will be Daddy. This is the track. It's quite a lot different in sound to the rest of it. I guess you can hear the sort of influence of Peter Broderick on the co-production. Yeah, it's brilliant. It's a lovely track. I love it. And I'm just going to shut up now and let it play. This will be a cool track, Daddy, by Rival Consoles and Peter Broderick. Aiming real far, can I call myself a man now? Oh yeah, it's
in a car, aiming real far, can I call myself a man
now? Yeah, you got my C there, lucky you. No, I'm only joking. It probably screeched through your eardrums in an unpleasant way. But yeah, I do like that. It's a nice little vocal hook. It's nice to have little vox in your tracks, and that definitely fulfills all the things that a bit of vox needs. Up next, we're getting near the end of the podcast now, but this will be Looming from the first album I heard again, Howl, and it's a nice one. Like all the tracks, I'll let it play now. Yes, that was looming. Looming over the audio horizon, you could say, if you wanted to. Anyway, penultimate choice now, coming in a few seconds, is Unfolding. This one goes back a little bit towards dance music, I would say. It's you struggle to dance to it in a normal 4/4 fashion, but it's got the kick drum going on. So I guess, actually, maybe I'm talking nonsense. It's got that sort of 4/4 boop boop. And it's a great track. Unfolding. It's also got rhythms that aren't the standard, which is why I like his production so much. Actually, a lot of the time he has rhythms that are polyrhythmic, you could say, and just syncopated, not the norm. Here we go. This is Unfolding. So that was Unfolding, and it leaves me to round up this podcast. Big shout out to Rival Consoles. I think you're brilliant, mate, and hopefully everyone who listens to this podcast who maybe didn't know who you were, thinks you're brilliant too now. So it leaves me to play the final track coming in a sec, Dreamer's Wake. Particularly appreciate having this one last, but at least from the name, because as usual I'm recording this podcast at 5 in the morning. It's currently 5 in the morning, now exactly, and this is a lovely tune. And the point is that if you are asleep out there, although you're probably not listening to this obviously asleep, because that would be difficult, but if you were asleep when I recorded this, then you would be dreaming, and then it would be Dreamer's Wake, and hopefully you wake up to a nice not alarm clock, not one of those beep, beep, beep sort of ones. I hate those, don't know how people deal with it. And here we go, Dreamer's Wake, last track. I'm signing out, 5D. See you later.